My name is Harry and I live in a rural area of England. I am now 18, but this happened when I was 15 years old. I have a group of friends I've had for many years, dating back to preschool. I'll call them Luca and Tommy for privacy. Tommy and I live in a small village where we went to school and have spent our whole lives. It's a quiet village with mostly older people, so everyone our age naturally became close friends. Luca lived on a farm not far from the village and went to the same primary school. Growing up, we all believed in the paranormal, but I've always been secretly religious, even though my actions sometimes contradicted that. We stayed close after school and would regularly meet up to drink and mess around. One day, we decided to meet at Luca's farm. We rarely went there and thought we could play music loud and drink without worrying. Luca offered us a place to sleep in the nearby woods. He had a small camping spot set up. Being the immature teenagers we were, we agreed. Everything was fine at first. We drank, ate, and had a good time. It's worth mentioning the tent at the campsite only really fit 2 people, and even then, it was a squeeze. Luckily, there was a hammock, and I offered to sleep in it. Around 3 a.m., I heard a strange humming coming from deep in the forest. I woke the other 2 up and asked frantically if they heard it. They heard it clearly. It sounded like a woman, and the only woman in the area would have been Luca's mom, who wouldn't come to the forest at night. That creeped us out, and I offered to check what was making the sound. What a stupid mistake. Tommy refused and stayed behind, while Luca and I grabbed our phone flashlights and went searching. We walked for about 5 minutes and then saw something we couldn't explain. In the distance stood a woman in a white, muddy dress, her hair black and long, and she seemed to glow. She was huge, easily 7 feet tall. As soon as she saw us, she turned and walked away, still humming. Horrified but curious, we followed. She moved through bushes to our right, and we pushed after her. A small crossing bridge led us to a massive open field full of the most beautiful poppy flowers. If you don't know, the poppy is hugely symbolic where I'm from. It's how we remember the soldiers who fought in World War I. People wear poppies to commemorate them. We scanned the field. She was gone. The humming stopped, and a strange feeling settled over us that I can't properly describe. We followed a long path through the poppies, expecting to find her at the end. Instead, we found something incomprehensible: a tombstone and a white, muddy dress lying in front of it. The tombstone read, "In loving memory of Diana, taken from this world too young. May her soul rest in peace, 1917. Understandably, we were horrified. We ran back to the camp and told Tommy everything. He didn't believe a word. The next morning, we told Luca's parents what we'd seen. A pale expression crossed his father's face. He said, "A woman was killed by her husband on this farm many years ago. He went off to war and came back with shrapnel embedded in his face. The doctors couldn't remove it. He went insane and one day snapped. He killed his wife in a poppy field, and her body was never found." My name is AK. I'm 20 years old now. I was 9 when this incident happened. It happened to me and my grandmother. My grandmother was a professor at a prestigious university. My mother was a businesswoman, and my father worked for a private company. On the day of the incident, my mother was on a 3-day business trip abroad, and my father worked late into the night. My grandmother and I were alone in our 5-story apartment complex. One evening, my grandmother came home from college holding a large hilsa fish in her hand. It was my favorite fish, so I was excited, but she looked nervous. When I asked her what was wrong, she told me to close the windows and the balcony door because it was evening. About an hour later, I smelled the fish frying in our kitchen. I ran over happily, and my grandmother smiled at me. As we talked, she noticed a few pieces of fish missing from the plate beside her. She knew I hadn't taken any because I was standing right next to her. She said nothing, but the strange thing continued. Each time she glanced at the plate, more fish would disappear. She waited to see what would happen, and what happened next still makes me cry with horror. A truly black hand, a disgusting hand with dark hair, came through the kitchen window and took a piece of fish. My grandmother immediately began praying and yelled for me to leave, but I was frozen with fear. Tears ran down my face. Living on the 5th floor, I knew that hand could not be human. I began having trouble breathing, like something was suffocating me. My grandmother screamed at the black entity and asked it what it wanted. The black hand pointed at the fish. My grandmother decided to give it a piece, but she also knew that if she gave it what it wanted, it might never let go. So she moved closer to the hand, holding the fish, and instead of handing it over, burned the entity's hand with a pair of cooking tongs. A loud, inhuman scream rang out, and the hand flew back out the window. My grandmother recited prayers and shut the window. After that, I fainted. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. My grandmother, my mother, my father, and a nurse stood around my bed. My family was crying. My mother had returned home from abroad quickly. She said that as soon as I fainted, my fever spiked. I was shaking and foaming at the mouth. My grandmother had called the neighbors and taken me to the hospital. The doctors struggled to bring my fever down. I was unconscious for 3 days. Thankfully, I recovered, but that incident is still unforgettable. Hello, I'm a 16-year-old girl living in a small village in Norway. About 2 years ago, my mom, my dog, and I moved into an old house. The townspeople called it a haunted house, but we didn't care. My mom didn't have much money, the house was cheap, and most importantly, we didn't believe in the supernatural. One morning, my mom left for work, leaving me alone with my dog while I got ready for school. I'm a pretty lazy kid and not much of a morning person, so instead of rushing, I usually sat in the bathroom with my dog and watched YouTube. I was sitting on the floor, cuddling her, when suddenly the room felt ice cold. That was strange, because the bathroom was normally the warmest room in the house, thanks to the underfloor heating. A chill crawled across my skin as I hugged my dog tighter, and then I felt it. The overwhelming urge to look into the hallway, like someone unseen was watching me. My dog felt it too. Her ears perked, and she began to growl. I slowly lifted my eyes, and that's when I saw it. A 6-foot-tall, white, shadowy figure floated toward me. I froze. My arms locked around my dog. Her growls turned into whimpers, and hot tears stung my eyes. The figure drifted closer and closer until it stopped right in front of the bathroom door. It lowered its head as if staring straight at me, then slowly turned and floated directly through the locked laundry room door. I sat there trembling, unable to move. It felt like hours before I finally gathered the courage to get up. I clipped on my dog's leash and bolted out the front door, running straight to my grandmother's house down the road. When I told her what I'd seen, she just gave me a confused look and laughed. That night, I tried to brush it off. I crawled into bed, ready for sleep, when I heard it, a knock at my window. My bedroom was on the 2nd floor. Unless someone had climbed the wall, there was no way anyone could be knocking. I hesitated, then peeked out the window. Nothing. The dark stared back at me. Terrified, I ran to my mom's room. She was asleep, but I shook her awake and begged to sleep beside her. She didn't ask questions, she just let me. But that was only the beginning. Over the next few weeks, strange things kept happening. Paintings slipped from the walls, footsteps echoed in empty rooms. And one night, while my mother and I were sitting in the living room, a knife lifted off the kitchen counter and dropped onto the floor. That was it. My mom had enough. We packed up and moved into my grandmother's house. She welcomed us without hesitation, and we stayed for 6 months until we found a new home. Now, we've been here for 7 months. Nothing strange has happened since. At least, not yet.